Hey dolls, and welcome to my channel. So my name is Charisse, and on this channel I usually do skincare and makeup review so you can see how products perform on a normal consumer before purchasing them. So on this video I'm very excited and very hyped because I'm going to finally try this Clinique Even Better Clinical Serum Foundation with SPF 25. So I have been seeing a lot of very good reviews about this foundation on YouTube, and I've seen a lot of people rave about this foundation on TikTok as well. And I have oily combination skin, and a lot of people with oily skin are really raving about this foundation. So I'm very excited to finally try it on myself. So today we're going to do an oxidation test to see if it oxidizes after an hour. We're also going to do a photography test on my phone on natural light. We're also going to do a flash and non-flash photography test. We're also going to do a oil blotting sheet test by the 4th hour, and of course an 8-hour wearability test. So if you like thorough foundation reviews such as this, don't forget to like this video. Please don't forget to subscribe because it really helps me in knowing what my viewer wants to see on this channel, so I would really appreciate it. So on their website, this serum foundation is described as an oil-free foundation that provides full coverage and a matte finish up to 24 hours. With its 3 serum technology, it has UP302 and vitamin C that visibly reduce dark spots and uneven skin tone. It also has salicylic acid that retexturizes skin appearance and hyaluronic acid that visibly plumps for a more youthful look. It also claims that it's clinically shown to leave bare skin looking better, smoother, and more even. It has SPF 25 mineral sunscreen that protects skin from the look of discoloration, and it also has a non-oxidizing formula for a perfect match. And this cost 59 Canadian dollars and 50 cents at Sephora, but since I got it at the outlet store, I actually got it for 30% off. When it comes to packaging, it has a really cute packaging. It looks like an egg. The only complaint that I'm seeing online is that they can't pump the foundation when it's halfway. I don't know the reason, but you can actually open it up and then you can manually pour it on a palette. So this one has 42 shades, and I got WN16 Buff, which is described to be for very fair, warm, neutral undertones. I have to say I'm not very fair, and yes, it is a neutral tone, but I think that this caters for a medium skin tone than fair skin tones. So just a little background, I have combination skin, I have oily T-zone, dry on some other parts, and I have hyperpigmentation on the top of my cheeks. So the first time that I've used it was yesterday, so that was day 1, and I was amazed on how it did not lay flat on my skin considering it's a serum foundation. It has a full coverage, it feels moisturizing on, and I can see that it has a smoothing effect on my face, and it really helped in blurring out my pores. So I love how my skin looks. So I put more, and I put a second layer using a tapping motion with my brush, and then when it sets, because it has a matte finish, it really highlighted the texture on my skin, especially the flaky parts of my nose. I can really see that flake of skin on my nose, and the drying pimple on my forehead, I can really see that as well. On photos, especially when I'm smiling, I can see that it looks very dry on the side of my mouth, and it's piling on the side of my nose. After 1 hour of wear, it did not oxidize. It really maintained its true color. It still looks good, and it still has that full coverage on. After another hour, when I had better lighting in the car, I can really see that it's highlighting the flakiness on my nose, and it looked cakey on my face. And when I put on my sunglasses, the foundation really rubbed off on that side, and I'm partly to blame because I know that the consistency of this serum foundation is heavier than the normal serum foundation that I have tried, and yet I have piled it on. And on top of that, I also set it with a heavy powder. Even though I really tapped the powder really well on my hand before applying on my face, I think that it added on how heavy it looked on my face. I had to go out that night with my family and my friend who visited Toronto, and I just can't get myself to go out looking like that. It really looks borderline cakey. It looks heavy on, so I had to wipe it all off and use a drugstore foundation instead. And last night I used the Revlon skin caring foundation. So it was a good test whether I just didn't prep and prime my skin very well before putting this Clinique Serum foundation. So when I put this Revlon foundation on, it did not cling to my dry spots. It didn't highlight the flakes on my nose. So I knew right off the bat that I really need to change how I apply this Clinique Serum foundation on. So here we are, day 2 of testing this serum foundation, and we're gonna have a totally different approach this time. First, I realized that this serum foundation is not as thin as the other serum foundations that I have used. So I'm really going to shake this very well. I also prime my face, and I prime my face with just a moisturizer and then a sunscreen. I'm going to put all the products that I have used down in the description bar below, and I'm not going to add any more primer. I'm not going to layer anything that would disrupt this foundation. I think by the sound of it, it sounds like very milky at this point, so I can use it. Let's start with one pump, and then I'm not going to use a round brush. I'm going to use the Morphe G30. This is more of a flat brush, and it's thinner than what I used before. And sorry if it's dirty because I have tried this before filming this just to make sure that this is the better way to apply the serum foundation. So I'm just going to grab a little, and this is what I usually do with foundations that are very tacky, just to make sure that it's not gonna look cakey on my face. So I grabbed a little of the foundation, I tapped it on the back of my hand, making sure that I have well distributed the foundation on my brush. And then I'm going to start in the center, and I'm gonna wipe it just to make sure that we are not piling the foundation. This is a much better application, I feel. This really applied more evenly, so I'm gonna do that step again. So this is one layer of the serum foundation, and then the side without foundation. I think we're really getting somewhere. I don't see the flaky part of my nose anymore, but I also did prep my skin well. I did physically exfoliate with the Dermalogica Daily Microfoliant. It looks way better than the first day I tried it. So I'm going to add a second layer. You can see I'm really patting this foundation to make sure that I don't make it look cakey. I'm also using a damp sponge just to remove the streaks of the brush. And looking at my monitor, I can really see that smoothing effect on my face. My face looks smoother. It really has good coverage, and it really evened out my skin tone. So looking at my hand that I used as a palette, it's now set. And it's a little tacky, but it's very matte. So I really think that my mistake from yesterday was really piling this serum foundation on, thinking that it has the same characteristics as the other serum foundations that I have tried. So when you're applying this foundation, just make sure that you really spread it thinly and evenly on the face. So let's do this other side. So after one layer, I'm just gonna let it set for a bit. Use a sponge to remove the streaks. And then at this point, I am going to spray my face with a setting spray. And then I'm going to use the sponge to set that foundation. And also, it's going to remove some excess foundation. So this is how my face looks like with 2 layers of the serum foundation. So I'm back and I put on my eye makeup. I also applied some lip gloss just to make sure that by the time that I put on the powder, this foundation is really set. So I think that this foundation has really set, and without putting the powder yet, I can see that it really gave me a good full coverage. I didn't even put a concealer under my eyes because it did really cover the discoloration underneath. So I think that this foundation is very skin-like, very bare skin but better. Looking at the monitor, it looks like it. It looks very skin-like, but up close you can really tell that I have makeup on. And I'm saying that because there are really skin serum foundations out there that claims to be your skin but better, and it really looks very invisible on the skin. It really fused onto your skin. This one, since it doesn't lay flat on the skin, which is good because it's hiding my big pores, it's really helping in minimizing the look of my pores. But because of that, it doesn't look too fused onto the skin, and you can really tell that I have foundation on. But it did really help in evening out my skin tone. I don't see my redness anymore. I have a little pimple over here, and it really helped in minimizing the redness on that spot. So now I'm not going to use any cream products on top of this foundation again because it is very tacky. I don't want it to move or to set this foundation. I'm also not going to use my usual Laura Mercier. This is very thin in consistency, so I think that this would be better for this foundation. So I am just going to very lightly set this foundation. Because it is a thinner consistency than other powder, it doesn't make full coverage foundation look heavy. And I'm going to use my Hoola bronzer. I'm missing this blush so much. I'm going to use it today. This is the NARS Orgasm. Because the foundation is very matte on, this blush is going to add a little glow on my face. So this is how it looks like on natural light. I can see a little piling still on the side of my nose, but other than that, it looks really good. It has a good coverage, and it looks so much better than the first time I tried it on. And this is how it looks like on photography with flash and non-flash. I don't see any flashback with this foundation. And this is how it looks like after 1 hour of wear. It did not oxidize and it kept its true color. So I'm back, and this is the 4th hour update. I have to say this foundation is very long wearing. The coverage is still really good except for the nose part. I just have an issue with the side of my nose. This is the only issue I have. The foundation is really just piling on the side of my nose. I also think that this really controlled my oil very well. So let's do a blotting sheet test. I have to say, I didn't get as much oil as I usually get. It really helped in controlling my oil. So it's already 10:15 p.m. So 8-hour update. I didn't see much change from the 4th hour comparing it to now on the 8th hour. The only change that I've seen after blotting my face is that the pigments of the foundation is sinking into my pores on my left side. Yeah, on my right side as well, but it's not as bad as my left side. Also used a blotting sheet, and I didn't get that much oil. It really controlled my oil very well. And when it comes to coverage, except for my nose and my cheeks, it's still on, and it's still giving me, I think, medium coverage right now. So I'm ready to give you my final thoughts, and I'm going to give you my pros and cons about this serum foundation. First pro is that it can really give you up to a full coverage, and I didn't even have to use concealer even under my eyes because it really covered my redness. It evened out my skin tone. Even my pimple over here was really red before I put on the foundation. It really helps in neutralizing it, and even now it doesn't look too red. So it really gave me that full coverage. I also like that it didn't lay flat on my skin, so it really helps in minimizing my pores and giving that illusion of a smooth skin. It also didn't oxidize, and it kept its true color throughout the day, even on the 8th hour. It's also lightweight. It really controlled my oil so well, and for the most part, it's very long wearing. Now for my cons. My first con, as you've seen on my try on, this serum foundation really has a learning curve to it. I guess because I'm really used to serum foundations that are very light that I can just pile on my face. I really had to rethink on how I apply this serum foundation on, and I also have to rethink how I prep my skin. If you really want this foundation to lay nicely on your skin, you have to make sure that you have a good skin prep. Especially if you have peeling skin or flaky skin, you have to really make sure that you physically exfoliate those flaky parts on your face. You also really have to pair this with a very light powder. I don't think most of the translucent powder would work on this serum foundation unless you're really putting a very tiny thin amount of that powder, but I think that it really pairs well with the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush powder. Also, when it sets, because it is a matte formula, it can look a little drying, so I won't recommend this to people with dry skin, but it's also not meant for dry skin. The formula is really meant for oily combination skin. I also think that this doesn't look too natural on because it has a heavy coverage. You can really tell that you have foundation on. So I really think that this serum foundation is meant more for special events than for everyday wear. So I'm giving this foundation a 3 out of 5 stars. I think that this is really meant for people with very oily skin. So if you have very oily skin and you want a matte foundation that would really control your oil and is very long wearing, I think that this would fit you. Just make sure that you prep your skin really well, exfoliate, moisturize, and make sure that you use a light powder, and maybe stay away from putting creams on top of this foundation as it can look heavy. It's true to its claim though, it will give you full coverage. It is very long wearing. It has a matte finish. It doesn't oxidize on my skin. It can also even out your skin tone and give you an appearance of a smoother looking skin. If you're looking for a similar foundation, you can also use the Fenty Beauty Soft Matte Long Wear Foundation. This also really minimizes the look of my pores and it's easier to apply. And you can also use the Estee Lauder Double Wear Foundation. This one also has a little learning curve on how you should apply it. And if you want to learn that technique, just comment down below and I'll be happy to give you some tips and tricks on how to apply this better on your skin. And for some drugstore recommendations, I would also recommend the L'Oreal Infallible 24-Hour Fresh Wear, and also the Maybelline Fit Me Matte and Poreless. This also really controlled my oil very well. And you can also find my foundation reviews for this on my foundation review playlist, so make sure that you also check it out. I hope you find this video helpful, and if you have any questions that I didn't cover on this video, just comment down below. I'll be happy to answer all of your questions. Thank you so much once again for watching, and I'll see you on my next video.